Definitely down with that movement. Mm-hmm. Welcome back to Truth Hurts, where we expose corrupt politicians and the lying corporate media. I'm Jake Duesenberg, your host, and we're broadcasting live from Roseville, Minnesota, in the belly of the beast, the liberal zombie apocalypse of Minneapolis and St. Paul. Discussing the Grammys is none other than MAGA Jesse. How you doing, MAGA Jesse?
Yeah, I'm doing good. We got a lot of good stuff to get into.
Well, we got to
today.
go to the Grammys first. Let's talk about the Grammys.
Yeah, I don't know nothing about the Grammys.
Nothing about the Grammys? Okay,
I
let's
don't
talk
follow
about
any of the
serious
Hollywood
stuff,
garbage, yeah. But I see we already got comments here. Tucker91, Marty1967, Truthseeker0450, Napkin8, Cindy Lou, Chad Weber. So nice to see all of you guys tuning in. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe, and make sure to hit a Rumble rant if you want to make sure your comment is read. We are going to be discussing the GOP House taking a lawsuit to the Supreme Court after they've lost all of their leverage. We'll be talking about the how do you say it? USAID?
USAID.
Yeah, that's what I thought. USAID. We'll be discussing the RFK confirmation vote. As you can see, I got my Make America Healthy Again hat on, so I'm in a big support of RFK today. And we'll be discussing Ken Martin and his new role as DNC chair and all of the details that you won't get anywhere else.
If you want to interrupt us anytime, hit that Rumble Rant button and we'll go right to your comment. Running the dials as always, Mr. Deep State himself, Dawson. Dawson, what did you think of the Grammys?
The only thing I saw from it was Kanye West's wife's outfit, or girlfriend, or whatever she is, and then Jade. What's the?
I'm just kidding. I don't give a shit. I didn't even think you'd take the bait. Holy cow, Jesse didn't take the bait.
Take the bait. You asked me a question.
I didn't even know it happened.
I don't know these things until like Sunday night, and then all of a sudden, like Twitter's talking about it.
Okay, but have you seen that outfit? You should probably look it up.
Everyone's seen that outfit. Yeah. Everyone has seen it.
West is such a.
And what'd you say?
I said Kanye West is such a weirdo now. He's got to come back.
Well, I saw women going, "It is so disgusting." I go, "Well, it's a lot of things, but it's not necessarily disgusting."
Yeah, I don't care about the outfit, but West needs to get his gears back.
It's crazy. All right. Well, anyhow, yeah, I'm not getting distracted by that. We got important stuff to talk about. Okay. Pull up the Truth Hurts article. This is on A1 Dawson. Oh, by the way, brought to you by Warren Wessel of Keller Williams Realty. If you're looking to buy a home or sell a home, give my good friend Warren a call at 612-419-7453. And if you're looking to buy a home, give the good guys at John Galt Mortgage a chance at financing that home. You can go to johngaltmortgage.com. By the way, one of the founders just got retweeted by Elon Musk today. Mm-hmm. Tim Chermak. It's amazing. All my friends that have been retweeted by Elon are all Ron Paul people. David and Tim. It's great. Also, we're brought to you by Alpine Cabtree in St. Cloud, Minnesota. This is the article up on Truth Hurts. I just published it 43 minutes ago, it looks like, up there. House GOP refuses to stand up to Secretary Steve Simon, goes to Democrat-controlled court. Jesse, I feel like we're going to get some more flack on this from the establishment, which I guess we wouldn't be doing our job if we didn't, right? But, honest to God, I don't know how they argue out of this thing. Pull away the screen here real quick, Dawson. I'll get into that article in just a second. The Minnesota Supreme Court, like, no one's arguing against the fact it's all Democrats, right? Mm-hmm. Okay? All Walz and Dayton appointees. And no one disputes that they just made a radical ruling that the quorum number is 68, and that's not movable unless they reapportion the House to more seats. Mm-hmm. But they equated each seat equates to a member, which, once again, our question is, then who's the member of 40B? There is no member. It's a ridiculous ruling. So why on earth would they go back to the Minnesota Supreme Court? I could understand you're a respondent of a suit, right, like they were on the quorum one. Mm-hmm. But why would that be your move, to be the petitioner to the same court that hates you? Especially when you argued internal affairs of the legislature is not the role of the Minnesota Supreme Court. Let's go to the article. 2 weeks ago, the Minnesota House Republicans were dragged into Minnesota Supreme Court by obstructionist Democrats and the Democrat Secretary of State, Steve Simon. The issue was that Democrats were boycotting the Minnesota House in a radical attempt to hold up a quorum so the Minnesota House could organize for the 2025-26 legislative session. The Minnesota Constitution states that a majority of the House is required for a quorum. Democrats argued the number was 68 because there are 134 seats. Republicans argued 67 is a quorum because there are only 133 members. Once again, you guys know us. Democrats cheated in House District 40B. Republicans began the new legislative session on January 14th, standing up to Steve Simon, who attempted to unilaterally adjourn the House. As Simon departed the Speaker's roster from the House, Republicans elected a Speaker, and over the next week elected officers and started conducting legislative business. Now, you were on the show with me at the time, Jesse. Well, we were praising the Republicans. They had a spine. They stood up, right?
Mm-hmm. Right, yeah. The initial strategy that they employed was, of course, exactly what we were advocating for here, exactly what Action for Liberty was advocating for. But, if we weren't calling out this lawsuit, we would be leaving patriots in the dark. They want all these conservatives to be fooled that this is the right move. This is not the right move. They should be asserting themselves as a co-equal branch of government. Instead, what they're doing is acquiescing to a court that has already gone against them. They're asking the court to, get these, to compel the membership to attend. But really, they're not even asking them to compel the Democrats to attend. They're trying to get the court to allow the Republicans to be able to fine the Democrats and withhold their salary. That's not compelling them to attend. That's just having some punishment for them not attending.
Well, it seems like there's confusion in the media and the Democrat Secretary of State if there's even a sergeant at arms office right now, which is ridiculous. I'm sure they're getting paid. Okay, when Republicans faced the Democrat justices of the Minnesota Supreme Court, they argued that the court should stay out of the internal affairs of the legislative branch. But to no surprise to anyone following the radical declination of the Minnesota Supreme Court, they ended up issuing one of their most extreme rulings. The Democrat justices sided with the Democrat House members and the Democrat Secretary of State by declaring that a quorum is a definitive number. To them, a legislative seat is equal to a member, even if there is a vacancy. Following the ruling, Republicans allowed Secretary of State Simon to take the gavel back last week and allowed him to declare no quorum each day, then unilaterally adjourn them, despite a resolution in the hopper to punish absent members. We criticize Republicans for refusing to stand up to Secretary Simon like they did on the first day. Yeah, anytime we get a pushback from the establishment, it's like, you guys actually did this already. Like, we're just telling you to do it again. Mm-hmm. Don't listen to Steve Simon. Oh, this is interesting. When I was reading the brief that Simon filed, actually Attorney General Keith Ellison on behalf of Simon filed with the court, they even argue in that brief, oh God, I just completely had a brain fart.
Well, I think what you're going to say is what, Steve Simon argues in that brief, that he never received the motions from NISCA.
No, I wasn't going to go there. I had one before that.
But that is something that he is claiming, and so apparently when NISCA is bringing forward these motions to the desk of the House floor, they were not giving it to Steve Simon. Steve Simon says that the first time that he had seen the motions proposed by NISCA were the ones that were put in as exhibits for the lawsuit. So this nonpartisan staff, the so-called nonpartisan staff that is working in the Minnesota House, it's clear that they are also helping out the Democrats through reading through the some of the documents associated to this lawsuit. It's clear that the nonpartisan staff was siding with the Democrats on the question of quorum, on the questions of whether or not a motion or anything can be brought by the body, even when it's trying to compel membership as allowed by the Constitution. So it's clear that the Republicans shot themselves in the foot by, first of all, electing this nonpartisan staff, then backstabbing that and saying that it wasn't a clear election, that it wasn't honest, and that they didn't have the membership. So these Republicans are just looking pathetic. They're moving the goalpost constantly. They're trying to get whatever they can, and they've caved to the Democrats when the Democrats aren't even showing up. Based on this lawsuit, it may not even compel the Democratic membership to show up. Steve Simon is doing everything he can to abdicate his own responsibilities in this moment.
Okay, I just remembered it, and I hope I don't, like, a fleeting little idea here. By the way, my whole day is off. I didn't tell you about the dream I had. I told Dawson. That was crazy, wasn't it?
He sure did tell me his dream.
I want to say, we'll do our for premium subscribers in the post show. I want to see what you guys think about it. It was a crazy dream. I don't know what to think of it. So they actually argue in this brief that the adjournment is a motion from the body, right? So this is the other thing that they've been doing is Steve Simon has been unilaterally adjourning the Minnesota House. But they even acknowledge that the tradition is by the body, which of course it's got to be. I'm doing it on the fly. There's so much to cover in this thing. All right, I'm gonna abandon that case. I'm gonna get so much on sidetracks here if I don't stay focused on this article. By the way, you can go to truthalertsnews.com to read it. Following the ruling, Republicans allowed Steve Simon to take the gavel back last week and allowed him to declare no quorum each day, then unilaterally adjourn them, despite a resolution in the hopper to punish absent members. We criticized Republicans for refusing to stand up to Steve Simon like they did on the first day. Turns out the big play by Republicans behind the scenes, this is why we didn't talk about it on Thursday because it came out Friday, was to go back to the very same Democrat-controlled Supreme Court that they previously argued should stay out of the affairs to sue Secretary Simon for not recognizing their motion. Stupid, right? Is this not stupid? Am I taking crazy pills? Is this not a stupid move? Republicans are clearly in the right in the court of common sense and public opinion, and Democrats are completely in the wrong, but that didn't stop the Democrats last time from siding with Simon. So they're likely to do it again. But I want to cover a couple scenarios here, okay? Remember, it's not as simple as the Supreme Court will just rule in favor or against the Republicans here. They have a lot of options, and almost all those options are bad for the Republicans. Now, remember, we talked about last week they should just ignore the order by the court because it wasn't an official writ. And even if it was an official writ, they could just ignore the court anyhow because the Supreme Court doesn't rule over the Minnesota House. And even beyond that, the fact they gave up those two things because they allowed Secretary of State Steve Simon to take the gavel back, they should have just interrupted Steve Simon every time he was trying to adjourn him. So now, since they didn't do any of those things and they went back to the Supreme Court, they boxed themselves in. And here are the ways out the Supreme Court could get out of this thing and help the Democrats, because they kind of are going to help the Democrats, right? The Supreme Court has some other options as well. Attorney General Antifa Keith Ellison, on behalf of Secretary Simon, argued in its brief to the court that the petitioners, Representative Lisa Demuth and Representative Harry Niska, lack standing because they are not, quote, personally injured by a Secretary of State. This is the snapshot of the actual brief. It's like 31 pages. It says, when individual legislators bring suit, they must show that they seek to address a personal injury as opposed to an institutional injury. Minnesota courts have adopted federal precedent on this issue, requiring legislators to establish an injury that is personal, particularized, concrete, and otherwise judicially cognizable to show standing. And then they quote the cases there. So they could just find the merits of that argument and get rid of the petition to the court on the basis of standing. Mm-hmm. And then what are you going to do, Republicans? I guess in that case, they haven't given up on the ability to go back and just take over the House floor from Simon, but they kind of look stupid for not doing it in the first place, because they're going to go on for at least 2 weeks now, Jesse, of not standing up to Simon on the floor. Mm-hmm. Okay, Ellison also argues to the court that even if they do find that the petitioners have standing, the district court is the correct place for the petition, not the Supreme Court. If the Supreme Court found in favor of this argument, it would delay a definitive ruling, because no matter what the district court would rule, either side would appeal right back to the Supreme Court. Now, you got to think about this. Delays are good for Democrats since they are likely to win the early March House District 40B special election that would create a 67-67 tie with the Republicans again. So this is a snapshot of what it says in the Ellison case or brief. Even if Representative Demuth or Niska is standing, the court should deny the petition. The petition does not raise the type of exigent. What is that word? Exigent? You were half a semester in law school.
I'm not even seeing it out there.
Second paragraph. Circumstances in which this court will exercise its original jurisdiction, and to the extent that it raises fact-based issues about who has what authority in the legislative body, the petition should start in the district court. So there you go. They could just kick it down to district court, and the timeline goes on even longer. Okay. This is the last one, all right? Oral arguments are scheduled right away for this Thursday, but there's no timeline requirement for when the court actually has to rule. Justices aren't really bound by anything, right? They could decide, they could deliberate for a month. Now think about that. If they deliberate for a month, even if they side with the House Republicans here, the ruling comes after it will matter. It would come out, let's say, mid-March. And in mid-March, the Democrats will likely win House District 40B, and it'll be a 67-67 tie. Just so you guys are following this, the Democrats are going to come back and come back to the legislature. It's going to be in March when the Republicans no longer have a majority. They have given up the majority. They have a legitimate majority, a 67 to 66 majority, because once again, the Democrats cheated. Now, I think we brought this point up last week, Jesse. The Republicans boxed themselves in from day one because they said they can't even pass legislation. And you looked into this, and I found something this weekend. I sent that to you. I think I sent it to you.
Yep.
That confirms that you were onto something. So this is, scroll down a little bit. This was the motion from Niska, and it literally says in here, whereas a minimum of 68 votes is required for the House of Representatives to pass legislation. So they think it takes 68 votes to pass legislation, which I don't know where they get that from because it doesn't say that specifically in the Constitution. It also, if you look at president, you could go to, you found this, March 15th, 1973. This was a bill, it was HF 369 that passed with 67 yeas and 52 nays. Scroll down a little bit there, Dawson. So this has happened, and I don't know how many times it's happened, but we could look into it. Mm-hmm. So according to the logic of House Republicans, is that not part of our law then because it didn't appropriately pass?
Right, and there's a web page on the legislative.mn.gov website, and it doesn't link to anything. It doesn't have any source for why it claims this, but it does say in here, a bill needs 68 votes to pass the House and 34 votes to pass the Senate. If the House and Senate each pass the same version of the bill, it goes to the governor for signature. So, that's listed in a section called Calendar for the Day. But like I said, I've looked at that before. There is no citation or anything to link it to why it justifies that it would be 68. So considering the fact that we've seen historical examples of votes that only require 67 and it moves from the floor to the Senate or to the governor, that would mean that it only needs 67 votes. So Republicans are caving on an argument that they do not have to. I mean, they've caved to more than the Supreme Court has demanded of them. So they do not have to cave to this one. And, they have the votes already right now with their majority, with 67 people, to push bills across the floor.
Yeah. We also, when I said this, I think it was live on air, what is the chance that there were 134 members at that time? Well, we looked it up, and it turns out, scroll down a little bit, Dawson, in 1966, they established the House. It says apportionment. The representatives in the Senate and House of Representatives are apportioned throughout the state in 67 legislative districts. Oh, sorry. It says number of members. The Senate is composed of 67 members, and the House of Representatives is composed of 135 members. There you go. So there's actually more. So 67 was
a quorum for 135. Or not a quorum, but 67 was enough to pass legislation with 135.
Correct, which is more than are in there right now. Then it says here in 1983, scroll down a little bit, Dawson. 1983, that's where they changed it. You could see in government just a little bit lower than that. You could see down towards the bottom. Scroll up, Dawson. Just a little bit lower on the screen. No, other way. Sorry. Right there. You see where it crosses out 135 and then underline 134 members. 1983 is when they changed the membership to 134. So there you go. They could pass bills in 1973 with 67 people, despite having even more people in the Minnesota House than they do today. It seems like it really gets rid of their argument. Or I guess we could go back and find out what was passed and say that's not actual law. That would be really interesting. By the way, once again, I'm not faulting the Republicans for going to the Supreme Court a week ago because what option did they have? They were respondents on a suit, right? So when the Supreme Court was looking at this stuff, it's like, well, if we rule in favor of the Democrats, what kind of can of worms do we open up? I don't know. That can of worms, right? That can of worms. But it just seems to me ridiculous that the Republicans would think that's the best way to fight back against the Democrats.
Right, and
we're in the wrong.
If the shoe was on the other foot, and the Republicans were the ones who were no-showing in this situation, do we think that the liberal Supreme Court would be making this type of decision? Of course not. They would always have the backs of the Democrats. So the fact that the Republicans don't recognize that and aren't willing to fight back shows everything you need to know about these rhinos. They've honestly been so pathetic. It's been unbelievable to see that they did the right thing at the beginning, then they flip-flop, do the wrong thing, and now they're trying to pretend like they're victims. I mean, of course, it's terrible that the Democrats are trying to impose tyranny, but it's only as if you're a majority that can fight back in the House. So I'm not accepting any of the pathetic excuses that I'm hearing from some of the rhinos. They, of course, want to just pin this back onto the Democrats. Of course, it's a Democratic problem. But the real problem is that the Republicans aren't fighting back when they have every tool to do so.
Right. Did we miss a...
Nope.
Oh, okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. I'm on the... I have my old Twitter. I had my Twitter up, and or my X account up, and it was playing back the... Yeah. I'm having one of those days, Dawson. I don't know what's going on. Let's go to the comment section here. You guys take over the show.
Yeah, let's see here. Let's see here.
What's Razzle Dazzle have to say?
Yeah, Razzle Dazzle says, my representative did not even respond to my email stating my disappointment of lack of action in the State House. And he's talking about Representative Paul Novotny. Billy22 says, Drew Roach is the only House Republican with any balls. Get him on the show. And, you know, he is the only one who has vocally stood up to Steve Simon on the House floor. It's unbelievable that that's the case. You'd think that every single one of them who thinks that it's tyranny going on would have something to say when they have a chance to on the House floor. But only Drew Roach has been able to do so far. They should be standing up to all of this. And the fact that they've given up the gavel, the fact that they've allowed Steve Simon to impose himself, and they're connecting with Steve Simon. They're having all of these meetings with Steve Simon and planning out strategy and whatnot for the day. So the fact that, in this lawsuit, Lisa Demuth, apparently in communication, in a meeting with Steve Simon, she was asking him, how would you like to proceed? Yeah. Are you kidding me? Shouldn't the Republicans be coming up with their own plan instead of caving to Steve Simon and saying, how would you like to proceed with these days moving forward? What a joke. You don't need Steve Simon. Just has been shown in statute, just as was done by the House Republicans on the first day. They have every right to put Paul Anderson up there and elect a speaker. Lisa Demuth is proving herself not to be a strong leader. She is pathetic. She's talking about eating nachos with jalapenos. That's what she's talking about with leadership. I bet people haven't even seen that. Everyone wants to know what's going on with the House. Instead of fighting for conservatives in this moment, she's too worried about how many jalapenos are going to be on her nachos. And so people can check that out. What was that in the Blois email?
No, it was NPR this morning. It said, perhaps a tip to reach a deal, negotiate over some spicy food. GOP leader Lisa Demuth told Dana that she recently ordered some nachos with extra jalapeno after a recent round of unsuccessful talks. She said spicy foods helps curb some of the stresses of legislative session. Yep. Maybe some hot dishes could cool tensions.
Yep. Yeah. So I mean, this is just empty suit Lisa Kamala Demuth in action right there, and it just shows that people expect a lot more from their leaders in this moment. Republicans are seeing that these Democrats are so tyrannical, and what's the Republican talking about? How many jalapenos are on her nachos?
Well, but the other thing
it's
that
such a joke.
About, oh, there you go.
Let's see. Phil Camp, $5 Rumble Rant. Dumb hat Jesse, eat a cheeseburger. It is the American way. Well, I think even Bobby Kennedy eats a cheeseburger from here and there, but
just not those sugary buns.
Yeah, right. Just not those McDonald's buns or whatever's going on. But
stay away from that deep fried food.
Mm-hmm. And I don't think it's debatable about red meat. There's all kinds of health people that
for you.
I agree.
I have a very good opinion on this thing, meaning it's the right opinion. So the reason vegan diets work for certain people is because the vast majority of people eat meat the wrong way. It's prepared the wrong way, right? Like you're getting deep fried chicken wings, right? If you just ate meat, like you can't tell me a steak's bad for you. I'm just not going to buy that, right? I certainly am not going to buy like a venison loin is bad for you. If you eat venison, well, you like eating some of the wild game I bring in, Dawson. Like the turkey breast. Like, you can't tell me that's not healthy food, right?
I mean, I guess vegans are arguing that meat. Wait, do vegans?
No, I'm not
argue
making
that-
their argument. They obviously have a moral problem with it, but I'm
Right.
saying that
Does
people that are
anybody
on the
argue-
vegan diet get healthy. Well, part of the reason they're getting healthy is not because they got rid of meat. It's because they got rid of the way that the meat was prepared. Does that make sense? So it's like, let's say you were just trying, let's say you were substituting an Impossible Burger with a regular burger. Well, if you're still putting it on a sugary bun, you're still introducing the worst thing. Here's another example. You know how, like, Subway, there's something to be said about eating fresh, but you know why people like those Subway sandwiches? That bread is like just sugar. It's full of sugar. It's like not healthy. It's not good for you. You know, but by the way, the meat's also full of preservatives, so I'm not necessarily saying that's a great argument. The point is, if you're eating, like, certainly wild game, but you're eating just meat in like a more natural state, I just don't buy that that's bad for you.
I think that there can be problems, but a lot of them comes down to like genetic stuff. Like if you're predisposed,
That's
like
true too,
my,
by the way.
my family is predisposed towards heart issues. So I love steak and I could eat it every single day, but I'm going to avoid it because of cholesterol levels. So
Yeah.
it's like, it's different for everybody, I'm sure.
Elaine says, support your local beef farmers. Eat beef. I love it. Yeah, absolutely. Eat lots of beef. Yeah, I'm way off topic. Brad Ganser, that's the problem. Failed candidate got us off topic. Can't believe it. So before I go on to the Republicans just holding a press conference today, the last thing I think I got to say about, because I think we're going to be done on the subject, Jesse, because essentially this is the way it's going to play out. I just don't see much hope in the Democrat Supreme Court. By the way, I hope I'm wrong on this. I hope the Supreme Court rules in favor of the Republicans, okay?
Well, and, the Republicans are asking for the most basic of things, to say that
Right.
the Democrats should not be getting paid while they're no-showing. I mean, if the Supreme Court can't do that, then all hope is definitely lost at that point. Because, I mean, this isn't even going to compel the attendance as far as I can see. So there's no serious teeth to this. The Democrats shouldn't be getting paid anyway. Would that actually force them to show up? I don't think so. I think that they have the fortitude to wait another 6 weeks.
Well, you brought up a good point in the show prep. Yes, Brad, show prep. You were saying this is you were arguing that the nonpartisan staff was in favor of Steve Simon's viewpoint, and this is why Republicans, when they're in charge, need to get strict constitutionalists in these places.
Not Patrick D. Murphy. Get a constitutionalist who's actually going to follow the rules, follow the law, and because there's so many instances where there's floor fights and whatnot. You got to have someone who is willing to say the right thing, and do the right thing in this critical time. If Patrick Murphy and this and the so-called nonpartisan staff, the sergeant at arms and everyone else, if they're not willing to do this in this moment, Republicans should have chosen someone else. So they still have that opportunity. Maybe they need to be looking around for some other people who are actually going to be doing the job, because like I've said, what they should be doing today is going to the House floor, getting rid of Steve Simon, and electing a new speaker, and then probably electing new staff, because the staff is obviously not willing to do what needs to be done.
All right, so the one argument that I had seen by the Secretary of State, there's so many, but this one I thought was so fascinating, we had to address it on the show, Jesse, is that they essentially arguing there's no sergeant at arms, there's no chief clerk, there's no what's the other positions out there? There's none of these officer positions. Why am I having brain fart today? Did I get?
I mean, you didn't.
Must come back to that dream, Dawson.
You didn't come in yesterday, so maybe today your body's like it feels like a Monday. Maybe
No,
a
that's
Monday
not it.
blues.
Everything's thrown up. What's the other position, Jesse? Got sergeant at arms, chief clerk. What the hell is it? Oh my God, it's a terrible day. Whatever, it doesn't matter. They're arguing those positions don't exist because essentially they couldn't conduct business. My question is, who's guarding the doors? I've seen the images of them and the video of them going into the doors of the house. Who's guarding those doors? Are those not the sergeants at arm? Mm-hmm. And by the way, is Patrick Murphy getting paid right now? Like, who, how, and by the way, what are these guys doing? Like, why are we paying the clerk's office? Why are we paying the sergeant at arms? If they're not organizing and if they're not conducting any business, why are they getting paid? You know? Like, why is anyone getting paid in the Minnesota House? If that's the argument that the Democrats have, why is anyone getting paid? And we'll get into why anyone's getting paid at USAID as well. All right, so the Republicans today had a press conference. Let's go to the A5, Dawson. Under Alex Plekish. By the way, Alex Plekish, imagine you take over as Republican chair on January 1. By the way, with no money because David Hand, on his way out, bankrupt the party again. They have no money. You know that? David Hand, who boasted how he got him out of debt and how they were doing so well. And by the way, they raised millions of dollars. David Hand left December 31st and basically had no money left over for Alex Plekish. What an asshole. Like, David Hand, that guy should never run for anything in the future. So anyhow, Plekish, just like, you would think there's not much role for him in January. Let's start learning the process. And here he is again today having to do a press conference because Democrats aren't showing up. And so right now they are actually running recall petitions against all the House Democrat members as this boycott continues. Now, we know from a recall attempt at Tim Walz that's got to go through the Supreme Court first, which is not that it's not worth doing, just FYI. It's just that, man, and that was back Gilday was in charge. That was a Republican appointee that actually stopped us from going forward in the recall petition. So hopefully Republicans can figure it out. I mean, I think it's a valid effort, even if the Supreme Court rejects it. But yeah, I mean, I guess where I'm at now, Jesse, you can get rid of that article. I guess where I'm at this point, if there's no recall elections that go through the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court rules against Republicans, why is anyone showing up? I think we got to move on just to national news. You know, there's just nothing to discuss anymore because there's no fight left. The Minnesota House is not going to exist until mid-March.
Right. Well, I guess, until mid-March, there's still room for the GOP to do the right thing.
Well, they should, yeah.
I think that's where the effort is. Everyone needs to, if you live in a Republican district, talk to your Republican representative. If you live in a Democrat district, pressure your Democrat representative to show up. But, I mean, these Republicans really need to step up to the plate. They're running out of time. They can't just blame the Democrats. They need to do something. And, all of this chaos is obviously at the fault of the Democrats. So if the Republicans cave to it, they're stabbing their own voters in the back. The Democrats are fighting for their constituents right now. The Democrats are the ones saying that the Republicans are trying to steal an election. So the Republicans need to be fighting for conservatives. And, if they're not willing to do so, then they might as well. I'm fine with not seeing the government do anything. Let's shut it down. It's such a joke that the position that we're in right now.
All right, let's go to this next segment. This is brought to you by Warren Wessel of Keller Williams Realty. If you're looking to buy a home or sell a home, give Warren a call at 612-419-7453. Brad says the recall petition is a fantastic way to build lists and ID voters, which is a good move for the Republican Party.
Yep, for swing districts, I think it's good. And, I think even in my district right now, we're discussing getting rid of Finke. So there's plenty of reasons to recall Chris Finke. So if you live in a swing district, you should definitely be organized to make sure that you can get rid of Dan Walgamot or all of these other no-show Democrats where there is a chance that you could actually recall them. But since it's in the hands of the Supreme Court, people shouldn't put all of their eggs into that basket.
Yeah. Why am I still forgetting the other officers on the floor? That's really bothering me. Sergeant of Arms. That's the Chief Sergeant of Arms, the Clerk of the House.
The chaplain?
Yeah. I guess it would be chaplain. Yeah, that's what they were bringing them in brief. Thank you, Jesse. There's other positions too.
Right.
That makes me so happy. Don't you dare yawn right now, Dawson. Don't you yawn. That's going to screw me, man. Oh, I clearly need more caffeine today. All right, this segment. So in the news all of a sudden is USAID. Before today's episode, I would have just said USAID. It's so interesting. It's not an organization that I necessarily knew a lot about. I'd been watching a little bit of Mike Benz talking about it. I'm going to show you a video. I think that's really well done. But I'm just utterly shocked that this is where the fight is today, and it actually makes a ton of sense. I want to get into the politics of why I think Trump and the guy calling all the shots, Elon Musk. God, do you love how Tim Walz is like, oh, we didn't elect Elon president. It's like, on one hand, you tell us that Trump's a dictator, and on the other hand, you act like Elon Musk has run the show. Which one is it? Like, I can't keep track of your thoughts here. But USAID, founded, I think it was in 1961, as a independent agency. So, like, they get our money, but we don't really have oversight over it. It's like supposed to be one of those, like, it's like the Federal Reserve, kind of like independent. They get all the benefits, but not the actual accountability,
oversight, responsibility.
Yeah, the oversight, exactly. The Federal Reserve, by the way, that's. I mean, you can't just get rid of the Fed overnight. By the way, that'd be a catastrophe for the markets. But it does need to end. The Fed is the biggest problem out there. I wonder if Elon's got his eyes on that. That'd be good. But yeah, USAID. It was basically like it was a JFK idea to take all the entities that were trying to bundle money to foreign aid and put it under one agency, to the point where now it's like hijacked by like far leftists, and many will accuse it of doing things for the CIA. Let's play this video. This is the B1, Dawson. This is a very good explanation. Mike Benz, who used to be in the Secretary of State's office under Trump's first term. If you haven't heard him on like Tucker Carlson, I think he was on Rogan too. Brilliant guys. Go ahead and play this.
So what is USAID? When people hear the name USAID, they focus on aid. They focus on thinking like it's humanitarian work. But aid is not actually in the name of USAID. USAID stands for the United States Agency for International Development, not aid. It's not a charity. And international development is simply capacity building. It is local and regional capacity building done across the whole world, i.e. internationally. The primal id in USAID, international development, is about capacity building of assets that can be used by either the Pentagon, the State Department, or the CIA for their own activities. So if you're the Secretary of State and you were asked by the National Security Council or the President to do something in a different country, overthrow their government, stop the passage of a bill in a foreign country's legislature, how would you do that? And the first thing that I said is you would look at the assets that already exist in the country. Do we need new assets in addition to the ones that we currently have, or are the existing assets, can they achieve this simply by giving them enough money, giving them enough resources, giving them enough training, giving them enough support? One of the main ways that capacity building would be financed would be through USAID. USAID would say that it's doing something, funding a hospital system, funding universities, funding civil society organizations, funding media institutions, funding independent media in the region. Sorry, there's something in my eye. Independent media in the region on USAID payroll. And those institutions, those assets, would then be bigger and more powerful and more capable, more capable of serving the State Department's goal, aka advancing U.S. national interests. USAID has a bigger budget than the State Department, over $50 billion. It is a bigger budget than the CIA. The entire intelligence community only has about 72 billion. So that's the CIA plus the 16 others. And USAID has a bigger budget than the CIA and is almost the size of the entire intelligence community combined. That is how important USAID is to American statecraft. It is an intelligence community, a State Department, and a Pentagon assistance organization rolled into one. I just copied this from the USAID website. USAID carries out U.S. foreign policy, advances U.S. national interests by promoting broad-scale human progress. At the same time, it expands stable, free societies, creates markets and trade partners for the United States, and fosters goodwill abroad. The operative phrases here are carries out U.S. foreign policy. This is not charity work. This is not aid. This is cynical, self-serving purposes. And what is it seeking to do? Free societies, open societies. Why does USAID want other countries to be open societies? Because that's how you get the influence in. If a country is a closed society, they're closed off from USAID influence. We cannot capacity build our assets there. Closed societies box USAID out. China is a closed society. That is why we have not been able to topple the government of China, despite having tried for 100 years now almost. We have not been able to topple Putin from Russia. Why? Because Russia is a closed society. Like China, they kicked USAID out. It is not an open society. And so the USAID can't just take over their entire media ecosystem by funding 100 different media propaganda outlets in the region to sway hearts and minds. And remember, that's what this is. It's hearts and minds and cash. That's what soft power is. They call it hearts and minds work, but it's cash that does the moving of those hearts and minds, especially of the leaders of the movements.
It's a good breakdown there. All right, Dawson, do me a favor. Go to Bing or Google, whatever you want to use, and let's look up USAID's website. Just USAID. Oh, my God, Joe Biden's on there?
Yeah.
I think we have to look at him. All right, just click on that. Let's go to their website. Yep. Website is not up. Now, I don't know what that is, to be honest with you. Is that Trump finally like saying we're shutting you down? Is that their protest? I don't know what it is. Honestly, I don't know what it is. Let's pull up the B3. This is a bunch of Democrat congressmen trying to get into USAID's building yesterday. I think it was yesterday. Of course, Raskin was one of them. That's the two. Let's do the B3, Dustin. Raskin, and then I can't remember. Is it Chris? What's his nuts?
Van Hollen.
Yeah, I think it's Chris Van Hollen that was in there. Go ahead, play it.
So, you are aware this agency is very busy currently, and they are not able to take a meeting currently. They advise that they will be in contact shortly, and that best to contact the Department of State at this time if you need any further comments.
Who is they?
The front office of the administrator.
So could I just ask, are you with AID?
I am.
Thank you for your service.
Well, thank you for what you do.
They don't have the right to be disciplining people for political reasons, and they don't have a right to usurp Congress's rightful role to appropriate money. We've appropriated money for USAID to render service around the world in fighting disease and fighting corruption, in defending democracy. We know Elon Musk is not interested in that. Donald Trump is not interested in that. But that's what the American Congress
all the
has
masks
done.
in that
and
audience,
we're
by the
going
way.
to stand up with the workers here.
It's like, okay, this is interesting because all these Democrats are just butthurt by this. Most people have no idea what the hell USAID is. Most people call it USAID if they've even heard of it. You literally said before the show started, what is USAID, right? Like, people don't know what this is. Now, I have this.
Yeah, I've definitely heard of it before, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely a way bigger issue than it's been before. And, you know, it's nice that, you know, people are exposing this corruption because it's just wasted government money. And we shouldn't be having U.S. tax dollars being wasted all around the world. They should, you know, either be spent on our own people or the taxes should just be cut so that people can keep their own money.
Just think about this, by the way. It's $50 billion a year. All right. Our federal budget deficit is $1.5 trillion, roughly. $1.5 to $2 trillion. So it is a fraction of the amount of money we're overspending. If you just got rid of the whole agency, which might be a good idea, okay? But it's a fraction of the overspending, and the Democrats are going crazy on this stuff. This is Carolyn Levitt, right? Levitt, the 27-year-old press secretary who's doing a fantastic job for Donald Trump. This is at the 101 mark, Dawson. This is her with her list of the things that USAID is doing. Check this out.
That organization has been spending money on $1.5 million to advance DEI in Serbia's workplaces, $70,000 for a production of a DEI musical in Ireland, $47,000 for a transgender opera in Colombia, $32,000 for a transgender comic book in Peru. I don't know about you, but as an American taxpayer, I don't want my dollars going towards this crap, and I know the American people don't either, and that's exactly what Elon Musk has been tasked by President Trump to do, to get the fraud, waste, and abuse out of our federal government.
You know, I never thought of a transgender opera. Just imagine you had a transgender choir.
That's most of them.
Yeah,
I don't know.
but just think about it. It would be like all the basses are wearing dresses and all the sopranos are wearing like suits. That'd be like, it's like all reversed, right? All right. So listen, I got this inclination that people, when it comes to politics, really are going to be motivated by what it does to them. So if you were to tackle this behemoth of a problem, which seems to be the task that Elon Musk has been given with DOGE, and the behemoth is $1.5 to $2 trillion. You got to start somewhere, and $50 billion to an organization that's funding that crap and some nefarious things. If you listen to Mike Benz and how he explains, like infiltrating, you know, the CIA's infiltrated it and other actors, they're doing nefarious things. But if you just think about this, that's like the best approach if you're really trying to drain the swamp. In fact, USAID is the swamp. I mean, they control a massive budget without overview. And now, by the way, it seems like our Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, is running USAID. That's the other thing, is he just is the acting director of USAID. Oh my God, so crazy. Now, if they can tackle this one, let's keep rolling. And it sounds like right now, Trump is talking about getting rid of the Department of Education, and the left's going to lose their minds over it. But the less influence and power and money being spent on Washington, D.C. and brought and kept here in the States, the better for all of us. We don't need a Department of Education. You know, there's the best way to get rid of the Department of Education is Trump has a bunch of authoritarian center-right executive or orders from the Department of Education on schools. And you'll see the left quickly talk about how much the Department of Education is a problem.
Yep.
Wouldn't that be good? That's what you should do. You should give them an option. We either get rid of the Department of Education or we're going to mandate the Bible in every classroom. No, you can't do that with the Department of Education. Yeah, exactly. Maybe the federal government shouldn't be determining what education is in our classrooms.
And, you know, Trump's Secretary of Education is Linda McMahon, which is Vince McMahon's wife. And this is, you know, one of the first times a lot of politics is WWE. The abolishment of the Department of Education is not WWE. That is not fake news. That would be huge for our country. And it would give states a huge opportunity to set their own educational standards and truly improve education without being bogged down by all of this federal regulation. So it would be huge to you know, have that go through. So I'm rooting on Linda McMahon as it goes on.
Do you think that it makes sense that Elon Musk is being tasked with all this stuff?
Well,
Do you think it's
this
good?
is a really tough one because I am very leery of a billionaire, certainly the world's wealthiest man, being in charge of this stuff. Obviously, the left is losing their mind because apparently DOGE has gotten some control or view of the Treasury Payment Center.
I saw a lot of that on Twitter. I don't know what any of that means, but
I don't necessarily either. And the left has lost any ability for me to believe what they have to say, even if they make good points.
that's not good.
Right. Well, that's their problem, because when you lie so much and you gaslight, then I can't trust you, right? Even though they might have good arguments. It's like we were talking about before, Sagar and Crystal, right? I can't watch that show anymore. Breaking Points has everything, every bit of potential, but Crystal is so lost that I can't even listen to her anymore. But it's not like she's always wrong. So, yeah, it's just, it's problematic. I mean, they lied so much. Like, I mean, there's so many examples, Dustin, but like at the very end when they told us that the Nazi rally at Madison Square Garden, because Trump is having he knows what he was doing. The Nazis were there in 1930, whatever it was. It's like, he knows what he's doing. It's like, okay, stop. All right. I can't even listen to you guys anymore. If you're just going to be like that, why would I listen to you? That's the problem.
Is there a Democrat that you could listen to right now?
Tulsi Gabbard. That's a very fair point. You know, the one that seems to be getting all the attention, and I don't trust this guy at all, is John Fetterman. But I was gonna say he's an empty suit, but he doesn't wear suits. Is there a Democrat I could listen to right now? That's a very good question. I would say probably yes. Like Bill Maher, right? He's half entertainment, right? But Bill Maher does news too in his sort of way. Yeah, like probably even Jon Stewart. So probably some of their entertainer Democrats. I think so. I could listen to them.
The only reason that
Those
I'm
are the two
curious,
that come to mind.
the only reason I'm curious about your thoughts on Elon Musk doing it is because, yeah, a lot of people on Twitter are screaming like he's unelected. He's just there. Like I think Bernie Sanders is really adamant about calling it is it oligarchy? Is that the word that he's using? I can't remember.
Yeah,
but
can't listen to Bernie either.
Like if again switching it around like we've done on the show before, if this was that the George Soros guy, it would be
I'd have
like,
a big problem with it.
It'd be like end of the world type
Yeah,
stuff.
of course.
And
Yeah.
so this is just that on the
No,
other
I
side.
see. I see their argument, right? I see it, and we all have to have like a leap of faith that Elon Musk has a good heart and is trying to do the right things. Because, boy, he's got a lot of power. But this isn't unprecedented. The president, Biden's no different than any other one. They get to appoint senior advisors. Those are not elected. Those are not confirmed by the Senate.
Is Musk a senior advisor?
He's a senior advisor. DOGE is a concept. It's like an advisory, like agency. It's not a department.
Well, then I am curious.
It's almost it's kind of a meme. That's the thing. It's funny.
Well,
It's funny that it's
not
called a DOGE, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's again. I don't think politics should be funny. I think that the problem then is where Dems are losing their mind about. Oh, he could see our private info in Social Security, whatever's going on there. I don't know.
I mean,
But like, how
listen.
does just a guy who is an appointee of like his oversight or like Trump's advisor, how is he getting access to like actual stuff?
Okay. So would you have a problem with Trump? I know you're not. I know you're not directly making this argument. Okay, so don't be offended here. But like, would you make this argument Trump can't do that?
I guess I don't know the rules, but I would be more okay with Trump doing it.
Okay, because he's elected as president.
It would make more
So
sense.
do you think Trump directly has to do all this stuff? Like when he oversees the federal government, he has to directly do all these activities?
I mean, he can't directly do all
Clearly
those
not,
activities,
right?
but
Okay, so
then-
he has to have people do it for him.
But so what does he do? He gave Musk like security clearance of like people. Don't
Musk
even
would
know
already had a security clearance. He's a defense contractor.
for-
I mean, he's got
so-
the highest security
for
clearances
people's
because he's a
Social
defense
Security
contractor.
Info? I don't know about
What's that?
For people's Social Security info, that seems.
Well, that's a different case. And I don't even know if he has Social Security.
He's a defense contractor,
He's one of the largest defense contractors.
and he's like working in the government now.
Well, that once again, conflict of interest, right? I mean, Trump says we'll try to deconflict anytime this comes up. Listen, these are not invalid points at all, okay?
Yeah.
You have to kind of take a leap of faith that the guy's got the right intentions, right?
And
we don't
also-
know that.
And also, he
But-
owns the biggest social media website.
Correct, yes. And you could actually understand from my personal and a business standpoint why he would do what he's doing. But it doesn't matter. Like when you're the president of the United States, you get to appoint senior advisors. Now, if you get past the potential of Elon Musk being a nefarious character, why wouldn't you have the smartest, greatest entrepreneur in America join you? Like, you have to be nuts to say Elon Musk isn't a highly successful, highly intelligent individual. Does anyone even make that argument?
I don't think.
Yeah,
that,
AOC says he's stupid.
Okay,
but
yeah,
that's the
AOC,
thing.
there you go.
Yeah, I've been critical of Elon Musk. I'm not a number one fan of Elon Musk. He's obviously not stupid, and like you're saying, Trump has the authority to appoint people to carry out certain missions. One of them being government efficiency and reducing costs and gutting out corruption. So, if Elon Musk achieves that end, that's a good thing for our country.
It's like I would even be worried if it. I don't care that it's Musk necessarily, but even if it was Jeff Bezos, I'd be like, what the hell is going on? Mark Zuckerberg. It's like Mark Zuckerberg owns Facebook. If he started to work in the government and was getting people's info, I can understand why people would be super upset
Yes,
by that.
100%. I think it's a valid point. And the problem is, too many Democrats have given me enough reason not to listen to them, although I would come to those same conclusions without them opining on it, right? Like, 100%, it's a problematic thing. But it's just, that's what happens. Presidents have senior advisors.
So yeah, at the point where it's like a Democrat says this is what I think, and then you're kind of automatically like,
it's like an ear pick. Like it's just like you're stabbing me in the ear at this point.
Is it
like I can't even listen to you guys. You're so dishonest. You have gotten rid of any credibility. I mean, if they had it, before, like, COVID really exposed all these guys, but even if you had it all the way up to election, when you just told me that Trump is doing a Nazi rally at MSG, it's just like I can't even listen to you guys anymore. That's how bad it's become.
Did Musk speak at that one?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, so he's a Nazi.
Maybe
even after that. Oh, look at that Nazi salute, which was a really
maybe
goofy
he
thing.
screwed it up. Maybe he meant to do that at the previous rally.
Clearly. Yeah, clearly. He was off on that one.
Did you see it happened a little bit ago. Was he a priest? He was something. He like a bishop or something, and he did that "My Heart Goes Out to You" Nazi salute on stage, and he got like fired and just like wiped out of the church or whatever.
That's it.
He was Spanish, I think. I can't remember, but it was
Spanish
pretty funny.
Nazi, huh?
I saw a video of Kamala doing the Nazi salute too.
Oh, everyone's done it.
It's yeah, exactly. Anybody that's waved, you can find a little picture of them looking like they're doing it.
It's so dumb.
Not usually a clip of them doing it twice though.
It's so dumb. Okay, let's go to RFK confirmation. This part of the episode is brought to you by John Galt Mortgage Company. If you're looking to buy a home, give the good guys at John Galt Mortgage a chance at financing the home. Go to johngaltmortgage.com. Pull this up, C1. Looks like RFK will be confirmed. This, you know why this goes so well with that previous segment? Because this is the criticism I had of Donald Trump, right? Anyone that watches this show knows I am not like a Trump guy. That's why I got Jesse on this show. I think Jesse's off on some things, but the nice thing is, I think it's worth listening to him. And sometimes Jesse's been proven very right on things, all right? But my problem and I think my biggest criticism with Trump is I saw those first 4 years. Those years did not drain the swamp. He didn't get rid of any major departments or agencies, right? He had these bad appointees, and there was excuse after excuse for that happening, and Jesse does that all the time. Guess what? Jesse so far looks to be right. It's a new Donald Trump, and I love it. If we're talking about getting rid of USAID, the Department of Education, really draining the swamp, I'm on board. If we're talking about putting RFK in charge of Department of Health and Human Services, a guy that was right on COVID, I am all on board with it. I am so sick of the way Washington's been run. And this is a huge, I don't agree with everything RFK says and does, but my God, I mean, this is the biggest middle finger to the establishment. RFK, a vocal vaccine. Oh God, of course. I was just I want an article for this thing. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, the AP. Leave it to the AP here, right? This is just how they start out.
Is he not a vaccine skeptic?
Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a vocal vaccine skeptic, an activist lawyer. Well, it's just like, this is how you insert your opinion into articles. Now, the AP should be the one that's not doing it. NPR should be the ones that's not doing it. Everyone knows when they go to MSNBC, that's what you're going to get. If you go to Truth or News, you know it's coming from
right. Everybody knows who RFK Jr. is at this point.
Right.
They don't need to insert any context of what they think he is.
I mean, if everybody knows what he is, then why not put that in?
Because they're going to continue to assert some kind of opinion into a news article.
Do you disagree that he's a vaccine skeptic?
I think he would. Yeah, I don't know if he would use that language exactly.
It doesn't matter. I, mean, I don't care what. I don't care if he does or not. That's what the AP is doing here. AP is fake news. Okay, anyhow, a vocal appeared on track to become the nation's health secretary after winning the crucial support of Republican Bill Cassidy, a doctor who says Kennedy has assured him he would not topple the nation's childhood vaccination program. In a starkly partisan vote, the Republican-controlled Senate Finance Committee advanced Kennedy's nomination 14-13, sending his bid to oversee the $1.7 trillion U.S. Health and Human Services Agency to a full vote on the Senate floor, which I think is probably going to happen tonight, but I could be incorrect on that. It looks like at this point RFK and Tulsi, who's actually got Susan Collins support, and who's the last one that we're forgetting? we've still got the Kash Patel.
Yep.
I almost don't even care about his Department of Justice, his Attorney General. I don't even care. Kash Patel also.
Pam Bondi, right? She's getting through. It's not even a question.
It's not a question.
There's some of these that are just not that controversial for Republicans when it comes to her and Doug Collins and some of these others. It's just an easy vote for them to just vote in support of it. So, there wasn't any controversy. And the fact that RFK Jr. has gotten through this committee here on a party line vote shows that it's probably going to continue to be a party line vote. Susan Collins hasn't said whether or not she is going to vote for RFK Jr. or not yet. She hasn't made up her mind. So I guess there's a chance that he could still win her vote. I don't know if Mitch McConnell has gone on record quite yet. I'm sure Lisa Murkowski is going to be a no vote. So things are looking very good for RFK Jr. And the fact that Susan Collins is with Tulsi, it shows that things are moving the right direction for Trump. It doesn't sound like any of his cabinet confirmations are not going to be getting through.
That would be great. That'd be fantastic. Well, I guess technically Gates didn't last a week, so.
Yeah, Gates withdrew himself, though, so.
Yeah, I don't know what was up with that one. All right, last segment here brought to you by Alpine Capture in St. Cloud, Minnesota. Ken Martin of the DFL. What were we calling him? Ken? Didn't someone have a quip about that in the, you know what I'm talking about? I'm forgetting already. What a day it has been. By the way, if you want to hear my crazy dream that set this week off, join us in the phone show by becoming a premium subscriber. Go to truthhurtsnews.com and click on support us. So the DFL chair in Minnesota became the DNC chair. We got an article, Action for Liberty. Go ahead and pull this up, D2.
Actually, Dawson, let's go ahead and start with the D3. So just to start out, there was a DNC race where Ken Martin was obviously running for DNC chair. There was a debate that they had on MSNBC, and it was such a joke. It was such a mess. So we'll start with this. This is one of the people who had run against Ken Martin. So she got 0 votes in total when it came to time to vote for the DNC chair. But she decided to start her debate off with a struggle song about Donald Trump. So go ahead and play that video there.
Why don't you kick off the opening statements?
All right. Thank you very much, Jen. And we'll begin with the opening statements. Each candidate will have 30 seconds. And we'll start with Dr. Quintessa Hathaway.
Good evening, everyone. It is my desire to be the next DNC chair, and I just want to give you all a little bit of something that's been on my heart here over the last couple of days. You fight on, you fight on, you fight on, you fight on. When your government is doing you wrong, you fight on, oh, you fight on.
All right, that's good there, Dawson.
Good voice, at least. I thought it was going to be worse.
It wasn't bad. And actually, she sang multiple times. I watched a lot of what the DNC was up to, and that was actually probably one of the better moments of it because, yeah, she wasn't always on key.
Look at this panel. She felt like she had to sing for it.
Right, yeah. It's definitely not the time or place.
Did we show the dancers at Governor, is it Hochul? How do you say the
Hochul?
Hochul. Did we ever show the dancers at her state of state address? You've seen that, right?
I don't know what
it's been a while. I think
no, it was just like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, maybe I didn't see it then.
You didn't see it? It was like a bunch of like old people dancing.
We definitely didn't show it on the show.
We didn't show this? Oh, no. It's so funny. Okay,
but
sorry. just pull it up real quick. Just YouTube. We'll get to it, Jesse. YouTube, Kathy Hochul, Hochul. State of State. It is so freaking bizarre. See, that gal actually had a good voice, right? She carried a tune. Just type in dancers then, I guess. I would have thought that came up first. I want a full video, though. Where's the full video? You got to be kidding me.
Here, go up.
How the hell is that not like its own video?
Yeah, that's the full video right there.
Yeah, just click on that. You'll see some people dancing. Where is it? Come on. Keep going. It's a weird costumes.
you say these are weird costumes? It's a band. That's their thing.
There you go. What? No, is that it? No, that's not it.
Singers.
Holy crap. I guess I haven't even watched the whole thing. Oh my God. It takes forever. Come on, where is it? I did not know. Okay, here you go. Here you go. There you go. There it is. Watch this. This is so crazy.
Sorry.
Yeah, I definitely haven't seen that.
You haven't seen it?
So, I mean,
No, I'm not a dance expert, but they're not good, right?
clearly there's like they had a band, they had a choir. Is this like a performance?
Well, clearly, that's how they treat it. But that's like not even good dancing, right?
Well, I'm curious because the band at the beginning looked like they were like middle schoolers.
Yeah.
Probably, so.
Which, I can appreciate that. Give like some middle scores an ability.
For old people, these guys.
T-Wall
are moving,
says DEI hires.
For old people, these guys are moving pretty. I'm impressed.
Okay, that's good enough. Yeah, that actually happened. All right, sorry.
And
I can't believe you never saw that.
Yep. Dawson, let's go and pull up the D4 and continue on this debate. There's two clips from this. One will be why, the Democrats still not being able to figure out why exactly they lost. And then another one showing some of the protesters from this DNC debate. It was so ridiculous to see what was going on. Simone Sanders, who was a Bernie Sanders campaign person who turned into a backstabber and, got behind Biden in 2020. Her and Jen Psaki, the former propagandist for the White House, the two of them were the ones who were moderating this debate. So go ahead and click on that first video. That's going to show some of the protests and people getting kicked out of it and getting arrested and whatnot.
We got volume?
Okay, so that's good there. So obviously these climate protesters were going crazy. They were all getting kicked out of there. There was one guy who just kept going and they just couldn't get him out for whatever reason. Then all of a sudden he darts across the front of the room and he goes, "I'm out of here. Peace out, bitches." And actually the crowd laughed at that. And Jen Psaki said, "Well, he's got good energy." And then go ahead and go to the next video here. And it's going to be obvious that the Democrats still have not figured out why exactly they lost. So go ahead and give that some audio here.
In this round, so I'm going to, I have a show of hands. How many of you believe that racism and misogyny played a role in Vice President Harris's defeat?
All of them. And look at that. Ken Martin trying to rally the crowd up. Yeah, come on, raise your hands.
That's good. You all pass.
Okay, pause it there. That's good.
Okay, sure.
And so we
Keep
even got
thinking that.
MSNBC inserting themselves saying that that's apparently the correct answer. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense considering the fact that they also say Joe Biden and Kamala won. So they seem to think that America would vote for a black lady for vice president, but not for the top job. So maybe it was just because her and Tim Walz were embarrassing candidates that did awful.
Hold on, Jesse. It's not that Trump necessarily won that many more new votes. It's the Democrats lost a lot of votes from 2020 to 2024. Mm-hmm. So are they saying that the misogynists and the racists were on the Democrat side?
Yeah, I guess so.
Because they didn't want to go vote anymore?
Right. It doesn't make any sense. They know that they lost, and they're just trying to cope with whatever they can.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. I have to interject. Do you not think that her being a woman or black had anything to do?
Yeah, I mean the way that they phrased it, it's like obviously some idiot.
So of course all their hands would go up.
What's that?
Because of course there's some role. There's some.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
so it's like, is there a role? the most tiny one, but when you got Ken Martin going, yeah, that's it. That's why it happened. It's like, oh, really? That's why it's happened? It has nothing to do with you guys lied to everyone about this geriatric patient who you called the president, who couldn't even be prosecuted for leaking classified documents because a jury would find him incapable of, what do they call it? Not mentally fit to stand trial. And then all of a sudden he patriotically stepped aside, and then you don't even have an open primary. You just award the position to Kamala. That had nothing to do with it. The real role was misogynist and racist. But you're the side that actually lost 10 million votes since the last election.
Right. And also, I think the fact that Kamala was a woman helped her out. I think that if a man would have, given these nonsense answers and would have made no sense, that there would have been an even higher standard.
That's a good point,
where people would have said, what is this guy saying? He's not making any sense.
Well,
so
not,
I think that, if anything, if she was a man, all of those feminists would have never shown up to vote. So if anything, she would have lost by an even bigger margin if she was a man.
Let's go to what we got. Ken Martin, good billionaires.
So he's already getting some of his own base unhappy with himself. So, which is funny because these leftists should be completely happy with Ken Martin. But Ken Martin said in one of these debates that there are good billionaires. Let's go ahead and pull up the D5. This is what's getting a lot of leftists upset. And apparently to Ken Martin, anyone that's a good billionaire is one of the billionaires that's giving the Democrats money. So apparently George Soros, that's a good billionaire. Bill Gates, that's a good billionaire. But anyone that, supports capitalism or supports Trump is a bad billionaire in his mind. So let's go ahead and play this clip, and we can hear it for ourselves.
There are a lot of good billionaires out there that have been
Lost
with Democrats
audio.
who share our values, and we will take their money, but we're not taking money from those bad billionaires.
Thank you, Joe.
All right, so that's good. So he's saying the ones that share their values. So obviously the leftists, they don't even think that there should be billionaires. So I'm not sure which billionaires could share their values. And like I said, he's getting his own base upset at him. I'm seeing all kinds of leftists on YouTube and on social media that are not happy with Ken Martin because they see that he is just going to continue the establishment as is. The puppet changes, the machine stays the same. And then let's go.
David Hogg, who became vice chair, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the party of white men, right?
Yeah.
So, kind of. So he had this idea that to get participation of the youth, they have to not make conventions so expensive, right? And so I think it was David Hogg's proposal that the party helps with funding, convention fees and travel expenses for young people, which then begs the question, do the Democrats actually stand for redistribution of wealth? And the obvious answer is no, of course they don't. They don't want the youth and the grassroots to be participating in their party. Not at all.
Way.
They want the cronies that can afford to attend those things. So they actually don't believe in redistribution of wealth when it comes down to it. Of course, they do when it comes to you and me coughing up taxes, but not when it comes to their own party.
Right. Yeah. Now, I don't expect David Hogg to actually challenge the elites of his party. And that was all just talk to get him elected. And even though he might be right in a sense that these fees are way too much and that they're trying to both the parties, the Democrats and the Republicans, rip people off just to be able to be a part of the process. And even if you're a member of the RNC or the DNC, there's very few times that you actually have a vote that matters because most of the time the leadership will just do whatever they want anyway. In this moment, it was interesting that there was actually a DNC chair race happening because most of the time it's just going to be appointed by whoever the incumbent president is. Since there is no Democrat incumbent president, that left this opening for the Democrats to have some competition. But let's go ahead and go to the D6, Dawson. This is where during the DNC debate, they were trying to conform themselves to all kinds of radical rules for transgenders and gender nonconforming and whatnot. They end up confusing themselves and end up making no sense as they're talking. So this is the outgoing chair, Jamie Harrison, who was such a bad candidate that he lost to Lindsey Graham by double digits. Imagine being so unlikable that you lose to Lindsey Graham by double digits, even with over $100 million in your bank account. So this is Jamie Harrison. Let's go ahead and play this clip here.
The rules specify that when we have a gender non-binary candidate or officer, The non-binary individual is counted as neither male nor female, and the remaining 6 offices must be gender balanced. With the results of the previous 4 elections, our elected officers are currently 2 male and 2 female. In order to be gender balanced, we must elect 1 male, 1 female, and 1 person of any gender. So again, this is what we have to do for this vice chair.
That's good right there.
Yeah,
it just goes on of all that nonsense. So, and it just goes to show Democrats don't really even believe in some of the gender stuff because, just like, a lot of people know in the MNGOP that you have an RNC committeeman, RNC committeewoman. It's the same thing with the Democrats. They have a DNC committeeman and a DNC committee woman. So they don't have a DNC committee trainee. That's not a position that's happened yet. Right. So the Democrats, even by some of their own long-standing history that doesn't conform to their woke ideology. And, I've written an article in the past about how they were trying to pull out these woke tranny rules for the CD5 endorsing convention between Ilhan Omar and Don Samuels. So it just goes to show that once you start to get into the weeds of how these delegate rules and everything would really work, it doesn't make any sense for what they're trying to do. And then finally, let's go ahead and pull up the D7. I'm not sure if everybody has seen this video of Ken Martin quite yet, but this is just to show you, in case you're not fully aware of who he is, this is a good idea of, this sets the stage of the type of guy that is going to be holding the DNC leadership post. Okay, perfect. Yep, so go ahead and give that some sound here. Okay. That's good. So, and I see a lot of people sharing that one out there because he's such a weirdo. And, right when they're at a point where they lost men so badly, the Democrats need to be in a position where they can bring back men. And who do they bring to lead this new male revolution? Ken Martin and David Hogg. Those are the two that are going to be bringing men into the party? I don't think so. So I think the Democrats have shot themselves in the foot. They obviously haven't learned their lesson from 2024 after they get smashed by Trump and Vance. You'd think that would be a lesson. Instead, they're still doubling down on their old identity politics, the DEI bullcrap, and I think that they might have just guaranteed a 2028 victory for the Republicans because they have not learned their lesson, and they're proving themselves to just continue to represent the same corrupt, boring establishment elites.
Brad says Ken is the architect of the DFL machine in Minnesota and also the confiscator of White Claws.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, we don't need to get into my article, but people can check out actionforliberty.com. I talk about that White Claw incident and a whole lot more about Ken Martin. So some information that you might not be aware of, just check out actionforliberty.com.
Okay. Oh, that was a good bit there, Jesse. I love it. Thank you to our great sponsors, Warden Wesley, Keller Williams Realty, John Galt Mortgage Company, and Alpine Chemistry in St. Cloud, Minnesota. Thank you to the Rumble Rant. Thank you for all the comments today on the show. If you want to join us, I put the link in the live comment section. Otherwise, go to truthhurtsnews.com and click on Support Us. Become a premium subscriber. We'll be live with our post show in a minute. To everyone else, we'll be back on Thursday. It doesn't look like I've confirmed the J6er we're going to interview this week. It might have to wait till next week, but that should be a good conversation. We might be done talking about these Republicans in the House because, quite frankly, if they're not going to stand up, this is just an old news story. We're not just going to we're not going to do what they do, the same news every day. They literally show up at 3:30 p.m., get gavelled in by Steve Simon and gavelled out. What's the point? Just don't even show up for work. I guess that's all you're going to do. So there you go. That's the big plan. Just put it in Supreme Court, in front of the Supreme Court that hates you guys. Oh, so dumb. All right. We'll be live with our post show in 1 minute. To everyone else, we'll be back on Thursday. Take care.